You're listening to the Communications Business Advisor podcast, the podcast for communications professionals in the corporate world who are committed to advancing their work and our field's reputation as critical business advisors that are not only invited to the decision-making table, but are required there. I'm your host, Tara McDonough. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Communications Business Advisor. Before we dive in today, I want to give you a little heads up about where this episode is going. It's part update, part reflection, and honestly just a look at what I'm noticing right now in our field and in the world around us. Because if I had to summarize the overall vibe lately, it's this. It's a lot. It's heavy. It's a lot. The world is worlding, and most of us are trying to keep up while also attempting to be functioning adults, communications advisors and leaders, and somewhat reasonably stable humans. The mental swivel factor right now is high, maybe the highest it's ever been. You know what I mean? I saw this Instagram reel the other day and it perfectly captured it. It was a woman narrating her internal self-talk, and it bounced from, don't forget to order the apples, to, wait, what's happening in Minneapolis right now? To then remembering to get school Valentines, and then back to another headline, back to another life admin situation, head on a swivel thinking. And I thought, yes. Yep, exactly. Our brains are on swivels right now, and it is really hard to figure out what to pay attention to. We're trying to just make it through the day while processing constant information. Work decisions, family logistics, major world, national, and local happenings that make you stop and either emotionally recalibrate in the middle of a Tuesday or stop and think, okay, what does this mean for my company now? And how do I advise executives in this situation? That is, if you're able to compartmentalize enough in the moment to do that. I find that most people in this field, we do the professional processing first and the emotional processing second, if it happens at all. It's all these days, as I said, a lot, heavy. And when everything feels like that, our emotions, our nervous systems, our attention spans, all of it can start to feel overloaded. I've noticed something about myself during times like this. My instinct at times like this is to self-isolate. And I have to fight it because it is not good for me. And at least it's not good for me after a brief reprieve where I might need it in an immediate moment. A few years ago, my husband was suddenly hospitalized with a rare case of Legionnaire's disease after traveling to Chicago for a family funeral. It was pretty serious and unexpectedly serious, the kind of situation where you're in the ER and doctors are really careful with their words and careful with setting their expectations about recovery. And you realize quickly that this is not routine. Hearing a doctor respond to your question about whether your spouse will be okay with, well, we'll just see how he responds to the meds, can make you just shut down, isolate. Now, at that exact same time in the ER, while literally waiting with him for an ICU bed, I got a call from preschool to pick up my daughter. She was throwing up. And after I took her to the doctor, it turns out she had come down with the flu, which then meant I couldn't even sit with my husband at the hospital, visit him, or see him at all because I couldn't expose him to the flu while he was in the ICU fighting pneumonia from the Legionnaires. So very suddenly, I was managing fear from everyone around me, including him, my daughter, and myself, parenting a sick kid, responding to family and friends, providing them medical updates as I could, having conversations with doctors from afar as best as I could, all at once. Now, because I have crisis communications experience, and probably because I grew up a bit in chaos, I did what I always do in situations like this. I got eerily calm. I got organized. I focused on managing the situation. I handled it. I stepped into it and I handled it. From the outside, I probably looked incredibly composed. Internally, my brain, my emotions, even my physical location, I just closed ranks. I pulled back from people. I narrowed my world to just what felt essential. Handle the problems, keep everything together. Don't leave the house. It's not safe out there. And I've realized since then that a lot of high-functioning women do exactly the same thing. Now, my example here, that's an extreme one. And thank God my husband did recover. But because it was extreme, that's what made me notice it so readily. The more ongoing, challenging crisis situations, or maybe we can call them incidents, those things that now we're dealing with, they don't allow us to notice what we're doing as readily because it's not as on the moment. It's not as severe in that particular situation. Sometimes isolation happens because of personal crisis. Sometimes it happens because of big global moments. We saw it during the pandemic. We actually were told we needed to stay home. We needed to isolate. And we've seen it in other major cultural moments too. Isolation, self-isolation, it can feel like control. But here's what I've learned. Those are usually the moments when you need more support, not less. And not because you're fragile, but because you're carrying more than most people can see. And just so I'm clear, by support, I mean, well, yeah, absolutely therapy. Yes, therapy, big fan. But also friendships, professional friendships, conversations with people who actually understand the pressure that you're carrying, more connection, more perspective, and more grounding. Because when everything feels heavy, when everything feels a lot, isolation makes the load heavier. And when it's not something shocking or game-changing personally, like your spouse being in the hospital, it can happen slowly. The isolation can happen slowly over time. And what felt like just exhaustion that made you feel like you needed to just hone in and focus for a period of time until you could get through it, starts to become the new norm. And that realization is part of why Raise the Tide exists. Now, I didn't build Raise the Tide as a traditional professional development program. It's not about checking a leadership box or sitting through generic training that could apply to anyone in any industry. And no, it's not therapy either. It exists because communication leadership can be incredibly isolating, and we don't even notice it because we're so normalized to it. We operate in complexity all day long. We're balancing risk, reputation, culture, executive dynamics, internal pressure, leadership expectations of ourselves and of what others expect of us too, which might not necessarily always align, public expectation. And most women in this field, they don't have a peer group that truly understands the role and what all of that weight and complexity means. Raise the Tide is peer occupied by women in this field. Same pressures, same realities, same conversations that you don't have to explain in depth because it's like old school shorthand language. We just get it. And when that happens, something shifts. You stop feeling like you're carrying it alone. That head on a swivel stuff, that is all still there. Can't stop the world from worlding. But you're now in a room with others who can hold your hands and tell you to look at them for a second and share what you're thinking instead of holding it all in your head. So here's the update part. This week, a new Raise the Tide program called the Shoreline opens its doors. Shoreline is the broader space inside the Raise the Tide ecosystem. It's where women connect, stay in conversation, and keep growing alongside each other through a closed, private, online platform. Women from around the globe in all kinds of different communications roles and environments. At the same time, the deepest experience inside Raise the Tide, called the Surge, has a few openings that we're ready to fill before the retreat over a few days during the last week of April. Surge is the more intensive Raise the Tide program. That's the long-standing one, and you might have heard about that one already. It's a small group with people at your same level professionally. It involves professional development, coaching, mentorship, and community all in one program. And if you're isolating, that probably sounds overwhelming, but know that this program, having been in your shoes, it also understands that more time is not something you have to dedicate. So we're intentional about making this feel lighter, not heavier, because we don't need that, right? And now I mentioned an in-person retreat. That retreat is powerful because something changes when you step away from your day-to-day environment and spend real intentional time with peers who actually understand your world. The people in the program, the people who come to the retreat, they describe it as a game changer because it's real. Real conversations, real reflection, real focus and intention setting around how you want to lead, what you want to learn, and how you want to grow. And real actual friendships form. Deep connection happens. This is not like anything else you've done. Now, after the April retreat this year, we're closing membership for at least 6 months. We need the group to be able to gel and connect together, and that's part of the reason why this all works. And maybe this all matters even more right now. Maybe this need to connect is even more critical. We're heading into International Women's Day and Women's History Month. A lot of organizations are figuring out or have figured out what they're saying, what they're doing, trying to make sure it feels authentic, not performative, if they're doing anything at all. Inside Raise the Tide, we talk openly about what it actually looks like to show up authentically as a leader right now. Because there are so many narratives flying around about women, power, ambition, leadership, trad wife life, what you should want, how you should show up, whether you can have it all and whether you even want that, or whether opting out feels more appealing. And all of it can feel, it's just exhausting. What I love about this community is that no one is going to prescribe a single version of success to you, and no one is going to tell you exactly how you should be showing up as a leader. You lead as you lead. You define your leadership. You just don't have to do it alone. If you're listening right now and thinking, yeah, everything feels like a lot. The work feels really heavy. The world feels heavy. Life feels heavy. And yeah, I've been carrying a lot of this alone without realizing it has been a burden. I just want to gently offer this idea. That might actually be the moment you need more, not less. More connection, more support, more conversations that bring perspective instead of noise. Because closing ranks is a survival instinct. I understand it, but connection, that's what actually helps you move forward. So here's the invitation. If you're curious, come explore the Raise the Tide ecosystem. Start with the Shoreline. See how it feels. See if it feels like your people. And because Shoreline just opened, I set aside something small for listeners of this episode. The first 40 members of the Shoreline can use a discount code, New Crew, for the first 4 months at reduced pricing. We'll also put that code in the show notes. And if you're ready for something deeper, the Raise the Tide Surge program is where the big shifts tend to happen. You can explore more about both programs at raisethetide.com. And if this episode makes you think of a woman in your life or on your team who might need this kind of space, share it with her. I'll leave you with this. The work that we do in communications, it matters so deeply, more often than people realize. You're helping shape decisions, culture, and outcomes long before messaging ever happens. And you deserve spaces where you get to think, grow, and lead with other women who understand the weight of that work and the complexities of leading it as a woman. Thanks for spending time with me today. And if the world feels like a lot right now, just know you're not the only one feeling it. Talk soon. Keep advising. Always keep advising. Until next time. If you're interested in working with me to advance your work and your team's reputation as critical business advisors, never order takers, check out taramcdonough.com. Thanks for listening to the Communications Business Advisor podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please leave a rating or a review. It helps people find us, and we can't ignite a movement without sharing the message. See you next time, where we'll continue to do the work to elevate our field's reputation and elevate the careers of the people in it. I created Raise the Tide to help elevate our field and the women in it. It's part community, part coaching, part professional development, and part mentorship. It encompasses all of these things because it takes all of these things to rise in your career. I asked a few Raise the Tide crew members to share what their experiences have been like in the program, and here's what they had to say. What's one thing that's been surprising to you about Raise the Tide?
I honestly was surprised by how quickly I felt part of something really unique and special.
Something that surprised me about being in Raise the Tide is just how much I feel seen. My crew holds up a mirror for me and even helps me see myself in ways that I haven't before. It's extremely validating, and it's a pretty powerful experience.
I was really nervous at first about how would I gel with everybody else in the group, and would we really get to know each other, and would we really become close? It's amazing how suddenly they become your biggest group of cheerleaders and your biggest advocates and the ones pushing for you and rooting for you. And that was really surprising to me.
If you're interested in this program, head on over to taramcdonough.com and complete the Raise the Tide form. A rising tide raises all ships, but we're not the ships. Together, we're the force of the tide, raising the ships for our entire industry.